You think discipline is about waking up early and making lists? No, discipline is the brutal art of surviving in a world that wants to destroy you. Machiavelli knew this. He saw men fall not from lack of talent, but from lack of cruelty toward themselves. The discipline you think you know is a comforting lie. That idea sold in motivational posts, those videos that promise if you just want it badly enough, everything will happen. But the truth is much darker and, paradoxically, much more liberating. True discipline isn't born from the desire to be better. It's born from the visceral fear of being devoured by mediocrity. Machiavelli, that Italian thinker who dared to speak what everyone thought but no one had the courage to write, understood this over 500 years ago. He wasn't talking about governing cities when he wrote about virtù. He was talking about you, about me, about anyone who looks in the mirror and wonders why they can't do what needs to be done. We live in a strange time. We have access to all human knowledge in the palm of our hand, but we can't concentrate for 10 minutes. We know exactly what we need to do to have the life we want, but we don't do it. Why? Because we confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is that fleeting feeling, that burst of energy that makes you want to conquer the world after watching an inspirational video. It lasts a few hours, maybe a few days if you're lucky. And then the emptiness returns. Laziness comes back. Procrastination embraces you like an old friend. Machiavelli would say you're waiting for perfect conditions, and while you wait, your enemies act. Your enemies aren't people. They're your own destructive habits, your own weakness, your own complacency. Machiavellian discipline doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't ask if you're motivated. It simply acts because it knows the alternative is the slow death of irrelevance. When Machiavelli wrote about the prince who must be feared rather than loved, he was talking about a relationship we all need to have with ourselves. You need to fear yourself. You need to be afraid of what you'll become if you keep giving in to your lowest impulses. This isn't a pretty message. It's not something that will make you smile, but it's true. Think about how many times you said you'd start tomorrow. How many Mondays were the beginning of a new life that never began? How many projects did you abandon at the first difficulty? Machiavelli observed that men are ungrateful, fickle, pretenders, cowardly in the face of danger, and greedy for profit. Was he being cruel? No, he was being honest. And the most painful part is he was talking about you too, about me too. We're all capable of betraying our own goals. We do it every day when we choose immediate pleasure over future benefit, when we choose comfort over growth, when we choose illusion over reality. The question you should be asking yourself now is, how do I get out of this trap? How do I transform theoretical understanding into real action? The answer lies in accepting a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You're not special. Your problems aren't unique. Your situation isn't different from billions of other people who also have fear, also procrastinate, also feel lost. But some choose to act anyway. And that choice, that brutal decision to move, even when every fiber of your being wants to stay still, is what separates those who build something from those who only dream. Machiavelli saw this on the battlefields of Renaissance Italy. He saw that it wasn't the most motivated armies that won. It was the most disciplined, the ones who trained even in the rain, the ones who marched even when exhausted, the ones who fought even when everything seemed lost. Have you ever felt that existential emptiness of looking at your own life and realizing you're wasting your days? That feeling that time is passing and you're not doing anything meaningful? You're not alone. We all feel this. The difference is some use this feeling as fuel, while others drown in it. Machiavellian discipline transforms despair into action. It looks at the abyss and decides to build a bridge, not because it believes it will work, but because the alternative is standing still, watching your own deterioration. There's a story Machiavelli would love. A Roman general was asked how he managed to win impossible battles. He replied, I don't give my men the option to retreat. We burn the ships when we arrive. Either we win or we die. This is the essence of true discipline. You need to burn your own ships. Eliminate the escape routes your mind always keeps open. That voice that says, just today I'll relax, tomorrow I'll start for real. This exception won't make a difference. That voice is your enemy. And in war, you don't negotiate with the enemy. You defeat it. If something in this reflection touched you, if you're starting to see your own life in a new light, then subscribe to continue this journey. Because what comes next will challenge everything you believe about yourself. Real transformation begins when you accept that life isn't fair. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He saw good men destroyed for being too good. He saw honest people devoured by corrupt systems. And he realized that virtue alone isn't enough. You need virtù, that combination of strength, cunning, and determination that allows you not just to dream of a better life, but to build it with your own hands. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being relentless. You will fail. You will stumble. You'll have days when everything falls apart, but the difference between those who quit and those who win lies in a single decision: getting up the next day and trying again, without drama, without self-pity. Just the cold, calculated decision to continue. Think about your current routine. Was it designed by you, or did it just happen? Most people live on autopilot, repeating the same destructive patterns day after day, hoping something will magically change. Machiavelli would laugh at this. He'd say you're waiting for fortune to favor you while doing nothing to deserve it. Fortune, he wrote, is like a violent river. When it's calm, you can build dikes and channels. But when it overflows, it destroys everything. Discipline is building those dikes every day, even when the sky is blue and it seems nothing bad can happen. The cruelest truth about discipline is that no one will save you. There's no moment of enlightenment when everything becomes easy. There's no secret technique that will transform effort into pleasure. What exists is the daily, boring, repetitive decision to do what needs to be done, to train when you're tired, to work when you'd rather rest, to study when your mind wants empty entertainment. Does this sound depressing? Maybe. But it's also incredibly liberating, because it means you don't need to wait to be ready. You don't need to wait for the right moment. You can start now, in this exact instant. But there's an even deeper secret that few know, something Machiavelli intuited but didn't say explicitly. Discipline isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. Every time you choose the difficult action over easy comfort, you're not just completing a task, you're reshaping your identity. You're telling the universe and yourself who you really are. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, woke up every day and reminded himself he'd be tempted to go back to bed. And yet, he got up. Why? Because his identity wasn't someone who gave in to temptations. It was someone who governed himself first before governing an empire. Have you noticed that your most important actions rarely happen when someone is watching? The true battle of discipline happens in private moments, when you're alone with your choices, when no one will know if you betrayed your own goals. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved because love depends on others, but fear depends on you. Apply this to your own life. You need to fear yourself. You need to be afraid of disappointing the person you can become. This fear, this reverence for your unrealized potential is what will move you when everything else fails. And here's the final revelation, the truth few have the courage to admit. You always knew this. You always knew discipline was the answer. You always knew no productivity technique, no app, no course was going to do the work for you. What you were waiting for was permission to be hard on yourself, permission to demand more, permission to stop treating yourself like a fragile child who needs constant validation and start treating yourself like a warrior who has a mission to accomplish. Discipline is war. War against your own mediocrity. War against the version of you that accepts less than you're capable of. War against the comfort that keeps you small. And like all war, it demands sacrifice. You'll have to sacrifice hours of sleep for hours of work. You'll have to sacrifice immediate pleasures for distant goals. You'll have to sacrifice the approval of others for integrity with yourself. Machiavelli would say these sacrifices aren't optional. They're the price of survival in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. So here's the conclusion. Discipline isn't about being happy. It's about being effective. It's about building a life that means something, even if the process is brutal. It's about looking in the mirror 10 years from now and recognizing someone who respected their own commitments, someone who fought the war and didn't desert. Machiavelli would be proud of that person, and you should be too. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you woke up, then do your part. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because truth isn't meant to be kept, it's meant to be spread. And maybe, just maybe, together we can create an army of people disciplined enough to transform not just their own lives, but the world around them. The war begins now, and you already know which side you're on.